Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the ClassE Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE, of patreon.com/ClassEbeats. By the way, make sure y'all checking out. Link is in the description as well as in the pinned comment in the chat. And we're going to get into it today. We're going to do a little bit of a rewind today. We're going to go back and look at Kerry Roberts' first testimony from the previous trial now that she's off the stand. We can't be tainted by her first testimony, so I'm still going to keep my word there. Also, we've got some news and updates on Shannon Sharpe. Yeah, Unc is out here crashing out, man. It's gonna be absolutely insane. And then we may have some other news for y'all as well. We might get into the Jaguar right news. We'll see how much time we have today, but either way, it's gonna be a good show. Y'all stick around for it. Before I get into it, I gotta say what's up to the people though. Shout out to everybody who's in here. Good to see y'all, man. Of course, we got my awesome amazing Amy is in the building first thing this morning. Taco Tuesday is in here 2 days late or 4 days early. I don't know which one it is. We've got Les Cleaver, my dog, is in the building. Shout out to Les. We've also got Slim Life, New Jersey, is in here. Good morning. The Honorable Attorney Kel Bell is in the building. Thank you for being here, Kel Bell. Shout out to all of our amazing attorneys that tune into the channel. I love having y'all here. Shauna is in here. We got A Fitz in the building. Also, Jay Buckmaster's back at it. Good to see you, man. Danny in real life is in here as well. And I'll be saying hey and what's up to y'all as we go throughout the show. If you could, I don't ask for much on this channel, as y'all know, but the one thing I do ask for is that y'all like the video. So if you could, please take a second and like the video. Not only is it free, not only does it take less than a second to like the video, but it does help the channel to continue to grow, and it lets the algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video out with more people. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Linfinity's in here, as well as Libby22 SC Girls in the building. We got a couple super chats I want to get to, and then we will get right into the show. So first, I got a shout out to Shauna over on the Cash App. She dropped a 25 bomb this morning, just showing some love, and says blessings. All right, thank you, Shauna. Shout out to Shauna over there. Y'all see her in the chat. I think she sent another super chat over there as well. I'll be reading it here shortly. Shauna, thank you for the love and support that you continue to show. It's appreciated, and I love seeing you here in the chat too. She always has great comments, and she always shows love on the videos too. I see you over there commenting on the videos, Shauna. Thank you. We've also got my dog, Les Cleaver. He just gifted 5 memberships. Not only did he give 5, he gifted another 5 on top of that. All right, shout out to my guy, Les Cleaver. If you got a membership from Les, make sure y'all say thank you, man. He did not have to do that. I should call some of y'all out. Dre, M. Givens over there. Joshua, excuse me, Joshua Sully, I see you. We've got the Good Glow is in the building too. Got a membership from Les. Y'all make sure you say thank you to Les Cleaver, all right? He also drops the super chat. He dropped the 5 bomb. He says, have a great day, y'all. Be blessed and always be loved. Hit the like button and enjoy the best YouTube channel ever. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Les. My goodness. God bless and amen. Can we give Les Cleaver another round of applause? Can y'all show Les some love in the chat? Dang. I hope you have a great day as well, Les. I know you be in there listening to the show and working, so it means a lot that you're listening to the channel as you're going throughout your workday, and you consistently show up and show support. That's amazing, man. Wow. We've also got Shauna in here again. Major sponsor of today's show. She said, here's to Truthful Thursday and the amazing host. Yeah, we're going to get into some facts today. We got a little bit of feelings in there too, especially when we talk about Shannon Sharpe. There's actually, speaking of truth, I need to make sure I give my guy his credit, because many of y'all know my unofficial official mentor when it comes to a lot of things, YouTube, life in general, is an amazing man by the name of Anton Daniels. If y'all don't know who Anton is, you gotta go check out his channel. And he's actually got several channels, and I'm gonna put a link to this video in the description that I'm gonna play here in a second from Anton. But Anton was actually the first person I saw point this out when it comes to Shannon Sharpe and what might be going on with his sponsors. So I'm gonna see if I could find this video from him. Let me see. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. It's from 3 days ago. And I didn't see anybody else talking about this. So I'm not going to play the whole video, but shout out to my guy, Anton. He did a great job of pointing this out. Hold on a second. So let me rewind this and then we'll get into, some of the other news that we had here. All right. So I think we should be good here. I got all the super chats again. If y'all could take a second and make sure you like the video on your way in. All right. Likes are free and it really does help us out a lot. So what we're going to do is I'm going to switch this over here and shout out to my guy, Anton again. Amazing content creator. If y'all haven't checked him out, actually, let me take a second and do this. I'm going to drop a link to this video in the chat and just an amazing person. Y'all go check out the video, subscribe to his YouTube channel. And I actually wasn't going to show this. And originally this video is going to be about Michael Irving, which we're going to get to Michael Irving and a little bit of his background and what he had to say about Shannon Sharpe in a second. But I wanted to actually play a clip or part of Anton's video, Anton Daniels, talking about what's going on with Shannon Sharpe and some of the things he's seeing that haven't been essentially said by Shannon Sharpe, but something he noticed about his sponsorships. Again, I'm going to leave a link to this video in the chat for y'all in the comments and also in the description of this video. So y'all can go check out the original video from Anton Daniels, antondaniels.com. That's my guy. Y'all go show him some love. Either way, listen to what Anton had to say and what he noticed about some of Shannon Sharpe's recent videos. Check this out.
What's going on? Is Anton from antondaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. I'm out and about today taking care of business, looking at different things, right? Getting my car clean, and then I stop at Starbucks, and then I stop at Kroger. And so, you know, it's Sunday, and so we figuring it out and getting stuff ready for the week coming up. But, you know, while I was in Kroger and I'm waiting to pay for my groceries, I'm on YouTube like all the rest of us. So usually we on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. YouTube tends to be my place of congregation because this is where you see the majority of what my content on, right? So I'm on YouTube and I'm checking out Nightcap to see what's going on with the Grizzlies and all of this stuff, to see what Shannon Sharpe and Ocho Cinco was talking about. And I noticed a couple things. Interesting. Let me share with you what I noticed. So in this video in particular,
this was a great catch Nightcap, on his part.
You know, this is from a while ago because I came home and I compared and I contrast. So this is from a while ago. And so, of course, Club Shay Shay, Uncle Shay Shay on Nightcap does as usual. Make sure you subscribe or Ocho is going to cry and all of that stuff. And remember, this is from like 3 weeks ago. All right. So this is prior to the woman coming out with the audio and the text messages and the Tony Busby and obviously Shannon Sharpe releasing a statement saying that he's going to fight this and he's not going to give in to the powers that be. But check this out.
On YouTube. Remember, Nightcap doesn't happen without you. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho cry.
Yeah, if y'all have watched Shannon's content, you know the intro.
Normal, right?
UConn advanced to the Final Four for the 24th time.
So, again, remember this is from 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. If you look in Shannon Sharpe's background, right, you can see the Boost Mobile advertisement right there. You see that? You see the Boost Mobile advertisement? Matter of fact, let me blow it up a little bit further for you guys. You see it right there. Boom. It's the Boost Mobile advertisement right below the Nightcap.
That's tough.
Also on top of that, Ocho Cinco, usually if he's not in a hotel room, I just pulled up a real quick video. If he's not in a hotel room, he has Nightcap and he has a Boost Mobile sign that's almost the exact same under the Nightcap, right? And then you also, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you see the DraftKings logo. Of course, you're going to see the Shay Sharpe logo.
He's talking about right
glasses
here
with the hair. And so that is a staple. That is something that we're used to seeing on there because Ocho is getting to the bag. Unca's getting to the bag. They running it up and taking care of business. Now, if I go to last night, a clip from last night, what do I see? Same thing in the intro, right?
To be on YouTube. Remember, Nightcap doesn't happen without you. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho cry.
Similar.
Thunder sweep the Grizzlies.
So, first of all, Shannon Sharpe got a completely different background. I'm sure he switches backgrounds on a regular basis, right? But then I look up in the upper right-hand corner and I only see the Shannon Sharpe logo.
That's tough.
So DraftKings is on that other side of the fence now.
And he's talking about the logo up here. Looks like Shannon got abandoned by DraftKings too. Dang.
Right? Let me also go into, and this is what I actually was initially watching. If you look at Chad Ochocinco's background, he now has the Boost Mobile logo covered up with the jersey. He now has the Boost Mobile logo covered up with the jersey. Again, not only is the Boost Mobile logo covered up, but also on top of that, the DraftKings logo in the upper right-hand corner is missing. So the only logical conclusion that we can come to is that either A, the sponsorships are still there, but they're saying hold off, similarly to how we've obviously been informed over this past couple of days that ESPN is now saying that Shannon Sharpe is going to step away for a little bit in order to make sure that they clear things up right before football season. If you're not knowing about that, then I'm bringing it to you right now. They are not parting ways, right?
And I disagree with Anton here. It's done. And I don't like to talk about let's just say I have it on very extremely good faith that ESPN is 1000% moving on from Shannon Sharpe. You guys take this for what it will. When the news comes out and then the news drops, you will be able to see that is in fact true. But I have it on very good faith that ESPN's moving forward. There's conversations being had about what's the next phase going to look like from transitioning away from Shannon Sharpe, and it's done and over with. You guys, you just have to trust me about that. And when you see the news come out that Shannon Sharpe won't be returning during NFL draft season or NFL preseason, then you'll know it was true. But I say all that to say, here's the thing with this, and shout out to my guy again, Anton Daniels, for this video. I'll leave a link in the description to the full video so y'all can go watch it there and give him his credit. Here's the thing. When it comes to YouTube and this whole situation with Shannon Sharpe, one of the things I said is, yeah, the ESPN bag is gone. It's going to be done and over with. That's tough, and that's going to be hard for Shannon Sharpe, right? But I said, thank God he's got his own platform, because he's going to be able to do what he needs to do on his own platform. Now, looking and seeing that a lot of his sponsors are starting to pull back, which also with that, I think he'll be fine. It's a tough situation to be in, because one of the things you'll learn if you ever get to creating content on YouTube is the views are great. The views are nice. It's great to get super chats. It's great to get super thanks on your videos. But when it comes to making money from YouTube, you really don't want to rely on views and watch time and all of those avenues to be your main source of income, because things can fluctuate depending on the type of season it is. Advertisers might not want to pay as much right at the beginning of the year, obviously. Then when you get closer to Christmas and you get towards the end of the year, people are spending more, advertisers will spend more, and then you'll get paid more for your videos. The reason I point that out and say all of that is the main reason as a YouTuber, and one of the biggest opportunities you have is sponsorships. You get sponsored on video. So with some of these sponsors now seemingly pulling away from Shannon Sharpe, now you're looking at he's done at ESPN. That's over. He's going to have other opportunities as a result of that. But when it comes to ESPN, that's done. That's over with. That $100 million deal could possibly be off the table too. We don't know what all of that entailed. Again, Shannon's still going to get his money, but that's affected. Now you're looking at his own platform is now being affected as well, because you have sponsorships like Anton pointed out. You've got the DraftKings, you've got the Boost Mobile that are saying, Shannon, we need to take a break until you get your what together. And that's tough to see, because now he's getting affected at all three levels. And this is just going to be a beginning. Now, one thing I will say I agree with Anton on is that Shannon is going to recover. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to continue to do great and make great money. He gives a lot of value. He has great commentary, not only when it comes to the NFL side, when it comes to the sports side, but when it comes to just his platform overall. It gives great value, but it's going to be a tough road here for the next 3, 6, 9 months, year plus. But either way, I want y'all to let me know what you think about that in the comments in the chat. I want to play one more quick video for y'all from an episode of Nightcap that he did. I don't know if y'all heard about this, but Shannon was on an episode of Nightcap and apparently his neighbors or something were being loud. And this is what happened and what went down.
I only heard from two teams. Guess what the two teams that called me, Ocho, say, what's your phone number? Where you going to be?
Who that?
Shut the fuck up. Next door.
Yo, look at it. Look at this man's face. Yo, Shannon snapped. What does my mixtape say? New clip of Shannon Sharpe has surfaced. In recent taping of his Nightcap podcast, Shannon Sharpe was seen snapping at someone off camera. And Ocho is like, man.
Cincinnati Bengals was one. I only heard from two teams. Guess what?
What do y'all think is going down with Shannon Sharpe? This is going to be a tough situation. I hate to see that he's having to deal with this. It's unfortunate. Thankfully, he's going to be able to recover, but hopefully this is just, I want to say, a lesson to people who are out there deciding to participate in certain things. Just got to be careful about how you handle it, especially as a professional. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. Oh my goodness, man. Shay Shay is out here wilding. Shout out to Virginia Wiley in the building with the 2 bomb. Says, have a blessed and productive day. You know we will, Virginia. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Oh, that's a great question. Shauna asks, how do you get consistent sponsorships? That is a great question. So as a content creator, you have to do a couple of things. One, obviously, you have to build your platform, right? You have to have a platform that people are going to want to invest in. Now, what that looks like is, in most cases, you just have to have an engaging audience. So whether you have 100,000 subscribers or you have 100 subscribers, if you have an audience that's engaging, you have people that are consistently watching your content, you have people that are consistently tuning in to your live streams, to the content that you put out, then you have an engaging platform. And that's something that someone as an advertiser, as a sponsor, would want to invest in. Now, the levels are going to be different. Obviously, Boost Mobile's not reaching out to us on this platform yet. One, because we haven't contacted them. And two, we're not at a place to where it's worth Boost Mobile's investment. So you have to weigh that out. But that's going to be the first thing, is make sure you have an engaging audience. The second thing is make sure you have something to present to them that shows them what you're actually doing on your platform. So you can show them some of your metrics on YouTube, if you're getting certain engagement on X, how your videos are performing, what you cover. And then you can put that all together in a media kit. There's a lot of platforms out there that'll do that for you. Like Social Blue Book has they're a great platform. Not sponsored, by the way. Social Blue Book, y'all sponsor me if you want to. They'll actually help you put a media kit together that you can then send out to sponsorships and let them know what you're trying to do. Say, hey guys, I'm looking to do this type of partnership. Here's my media kit. Here's what I'm able to do on my platform. And then you go through moving forward there. So those are a couple things you can do to get consistent sponsorships. And then the third thing, in my opinion, is the easiest thing, is to just be consistent. Be consistent yourself. If you want consistent sponsorships, show up every day, keep putting the content out there, stay in the algorithm, and sponsors are going to hit you up. I get hit up by sponsorships all the time. Just because we're here every single day, Monday to Monday, dropping content, doing live streams. And they're like, hey, we see what you're doing over there. We'd love to partner with you. Now, I just haven't found the right partnership here on the channel, because a lot of times, especially as you start to go down your content creation journey, you'll get hit up by, I don't know, maybe something that doesn't align with your community. And that's something that, again, if y'all want to talk about, if y'all want to talk about this YouTube stuff, I can do this over on the Patreon. So let me know, anyone who's over on the Patreon. I know a couple of y'all in the chat right now are over there. But if y'all want to talk about YouTube stuff on the Patreon, we can do that. You want to find something that aligns with your community, though. So you're not just saying, hey guys, today we're talking about, Dorothy's puppy treats. It's like, man, what? I don't even know. I don't even make dog content. I don't even know if y'all have dogs or like dogs. So it wouldn't make sense. Anyway, great question by Shauna. I could talk about YouTube all day. Yeah, it's over with ESPN. Trust me, guys, when I say this, Shannon Sharpe is 1000% not going back to ESPN. This lawsuit could get dismissed today and it's done. And we're going to hear from Michael Irvin, and he's going to talk about why he feels and understands what Shannon Sharpe is going through. All right. So everyone's letting him go. I don't think his sponsors are letting him go. They're probably just taking a step back while he gets things situated. He's going to lose lots of money. He already has. Agree as well. He is toast. What did he do to deserve all this? Oh man, that's a tough question. Does Shannon Sharpe deserve this? No, I don't think Shannon Sharpe deserves this. What we are seeing is a consequence. Does someone who decides to jump into the ocean and have a nice swim deserve to be attacked by a shark? No. If they do it off the coast of South Africa, where it's the most shark infested waters, and if you go out there, you know you're most likely going to get attacked by a shark. Do they deserve it? I still would probably say, I don't know, maybe. You just, sometimes you have consequences and there's things you have to deal with because of what you did. I don't think he deserves to have his reputation ruined because he decided to participate in consensual activities with another person. And then to have this happen, to have all that come out. But at the same time, it is a consequence of him being reckless and participating in this type of activity. It just is what it is. So I don't think he deserves it. It's a result of jumping in the ocean. Sometimes you're gonna get bit. He was one of my favorite players. Yeah, he was amazing. Cinderella and Mickey Mouse ain't having it. Nope. She says agree. That was a terrible analogy, says Deshauna. Why was it a terrible? It's not a terrible analogy. You know why? Because you have a choice to stay out of the ocean. It all comes down to choice. And Shannon Sharpe, as a play on word, I did not mean that was unintentional. Shannon Sharpe did not have to do this. He had a choice to stay away from this chick. He had a choice. You can stay out of the ocean. You don't get bit. You don't take a chance at getting bit by a shark. It's that simple. He decided to swim with the sharks. He said, hey man, you know what? Don't sign an NDA. It's cool. We'll be fine. What happened? Everyone's like, oh no, he got bit. Oh, they bit him. He lost his leg. That's what happens. So you might not like the analogy. The point still rings true, I believe. I'm not perfect though. You're probably right. It probably was a bad analogy. So some of y'all may remember what happened with Michael Irvin back in the day. Michael Irvin was actually on ESPN himself. He was in a hotel. He was walking through the lobby. He had an interaction with someone. And then Michael Irvin actually got accused of assaulting someone, saying some inappropriate things he shouldn't have. And he got canned like instantly right during the NFL season, right before the Super Bowl, actually. They let him go. Michael Irvin was out of there and he hasn't been able to work his way back onto ESPN since. He did a short stint with Skip over on the new version of Undisputed. As you well may know, that didn't do well, and Undisputed is no more. Skip is gone. Michael Irvin is gone. You got Paul Pierce is out of there as well as a couple of other people. So that's done. Undisputed is over with. And Michael Irvin had something he wanted to say when it comes to Shannon Sharpe dealing with his whole situation. And I mean, we have to take heed to what he said because he's been through it. And Michael Irvin was actually found not guilty and still hasn't been able to work his way back into the ESPN spotlight. Let's see what he had to say here.
Where it's just lose-lose for him. People say, why would you offer $10 million? You must have had something. You must have done something. You must have done something. No, it doesn't mean you're guilty. This is what, and that's a hell of a nuisance value. What a lot of people have to do is have to determine if there's a nuisance value to make it just get out of here. If it's something that can destroy you, and you're seeing what's happening, and their side, they're not going to put everything out at once. They're going to keep putting little things out one at a time.
He's right.
So everybody will talk about this today. Then you'll give it a couple of days and something else will come out. They'll put out something new. That's why
He should have settled.
in the beginning, a lot of people were shocked to hear that he offered $10 million. But that's what they call in that business a nuisance value. Now,
Yes, and we talked about this. We even talked about it. I'm not going to pause mic like that. We talked about it when we were covering Jay-Z. I said, man, this one, it's a heinous accusation that Jane Doe was accusing Jay-Z of. And I don't know, man. If I'm in Jay-Z's place, I don't know if I just don't write a check and say, I don't want to deal with this, just go away. But I now see Jay-Z's point in fighting this, not just because it's not true. And obviously, by the case being dismissed, it wasn't true, in my opinion. Innocent until proven guilty on this channel is what we believe. But it was the type of things he was being accused of in that instance. Jay-Z said, I was never there. I never even met this person. And the place that they're saying this took place at, it didn't happen. So it was a lot easier situation for Jay-Z, I think, to fight against something like that. Here with Shannon Sharpe, it's way different because Shannon Sharpe is really arguing, hey, it's not what it looks like. And that's when it comes to consent. If that's your defense, you're going to have issues. I've covered this. We've talked about it. I've went back and forth with people about it over on X. When it comes to consent, this is going to be a very tough battle for Shannon Sharpe. And you have to look at it and say, okay, we have communications. We have the text messages. We have the phone calls. We have this video of me, no, daddy, no. Is this worth fighting? Do I actually have a chance of winning this? In my opinion, it's not worth it, Shannon. It's not worth the fight. Even if you say she wanted me to do it, that is a terrible defense when it comes to consent. Let me just tell y'all. And the jury's going to look at him like, man, hey, listen, she said you took it too far, Shannon. You should have stopped. Michael Irvin seeing it.
In that business, a nuisance value. Now, you look at the 10, I look at 10 and say, whoa, that's real. But from him, and I'm sure all his advisors and lawyers and everything, they're not looking at the 10. They're looking at the 100 that was in the press 2 weeks ago.
That 100's gone.
So they're saying, oh God, do we just get the 10 so we can take in the 90? Because what's happening now is what they were worried about the most. They were willing to give the 10 to take in the 90. That was probably the best business move. And I'm sure that's what they were thinking. Because now, rather she gets anything or not, and at some point, all they're going to do is keep releasing things until you relent. And
before I let Mike go, let me ask y'all a question. Would you rather pay 10? We'll even use dollars. We won't use millions. Would you rather give someone $10 with the chance of getting 90 versus not giving someone 10, losing the 90, but have a possibility of getting maybe something in the future? Like, this is just bad. He should have offered her half. He should have he should have sat down and said, "What do you want?" Because I can't do this right now. At least I know I'm gonna get the 50 million, and we can put this to rest and put it to the side. I learned from my mistake. Like 20, 30. Don't let this come out. Don't let this come out, Shannon. And now he's, in my opinion, fighting a losing battle. It's tough, man. Dang. I give 32. Give me the 70.
If every time something comes out, do those numbers continue to change? Is that 10 to 90? Now they bring something out, it will go 30 and 70. Oh, you see what I'm saying? What kind? Until it gets to a point where, I don't know, does he lose everything? That's what I'm concerned about. That's why I was talking about this.
No, he'll be fine. He won't get 100 million though.
And if the game was played for truth, nobody would be doing this. We'll wait till we get to the courtroom. But the game isn't played for truth.
Exactly.
The game is played, and I'm saying that game is just a game. God, please, I don't want any of it. I shouldn't even be talking about it. But I'm just saying, that game is played a different way. It ain't about, let's find out really what happened. Let's find out about the truth. It's let's find out who's the best at convincing or confusing people, but getting them on our side. And through that process, the only person that has anything to lose
is Shannon Sharpe.
Shannon Sharpe.
Talk to him, Mike. Dang.
The only person putting anything on the line. You know. And I'm not talking about the alleged victim. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is she didn't have any
F the alleged victim
here that this is going to chip away at. So she didn't have any big thing out here that's going to chip away. Well, I heard about her OnlyFans. When Shannon mentioned the OnlyFans, it'll probably boost that. Both lawyers are going to get a big time boost because they're in the paper. They're in the conversation. Are they all over social media? They're in the conversation.
Lawyers win, Gabby wins, Shannon loses.
These conversations. And the only person that's going to be losing is my great friend. Man, I know it. I know the pain of it. I know the frustration of it. And you see the tapes, and you know, it was crazy. Now everybody brings out all this stuff that even the times you were joking about something else, you know, joking about something else. Now they bring it up as if this is current stuff, you know, and you have it just looks bad. I'm hoping.
It looks really bad.
I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe times have changed. You know, I know how I used to be so afraid, like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose everything, my job. I love my job. I don't lose my job, and it worries, and I gotta I hope the guys see the truth that nothing happened here. It runs you crazy. You don't sleep, man. I swear, I had never had ulcers before. I never knew what ulcers were. I had ulcers, man. I was grinding my teeth. I was in such stress and frustration over it. Oh, it ran me crazy. And I had some pretty big deals I lost. You know, it's a lot of money.
100 million though?
A lot of money. I'm just saying. And here, you know, now even if I know Shannon and his lawyer spoke. Even if they stop right now, still won't go away. Because the other side won't let it happen like that.
No.
They're trying to change the number that you left the room with. And the last time, it was 10 million. We got to make you move the number up. And the only way we can do that is keep trying to destroy That's a dirty game.
Can y'all imagine turning down $10 million? $10 million. Even if somebody said to me, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this $10 million. Now, if you don't take it, you have a potential to get up to 50. You're going to get some publicity. People are going to know your name. They're going to go and they're going to buy your product. But if you don't take it, you might not get anything. So you want the 10 million or do you want a chance at 50? Man, I'm taking that 10 million. I'm like, hey, we'll figure out a way to turn this into 50. To me, all this says is that either this girl is the biggest idiot in the history of idiots, or the evidence, as Shannon has even admitted himself, makes him look really, 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 really bad. We're going to have to wait and see and find out. But I think we all can see what's going to happen here moving forward. I think Shannon, again, he's going to be able to recover. But if he doesn't settle this soon, this battle's only going to continue to drag him down more. And the fight might not be worth it. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. Shay, why? Shay, why? I'll take the 10. Yep, 10 million, I'm taking it. I don't need 50. Where do I sign, says Danny in real life. Yep, when you're famous, looked up as a person like Shannon, you can't do stuff like this. My Lord, at what cost? I'm sorry. I need the back end of that offer for 10 million. Man, who is Shannon Sharpe's mentor? Who is speaking into his life? After the money is gone, what about his mental health? Can y'all imagine moving 100 M's? Deshonda says, I would be out of my mind if I lost 100 M's. Let me see. How much has Shannon Sharpe made his entire NFL career? I don't want to see this number. I don't know why I looked this up. Without Googling it, I want y'all to guess. Don't go look. I want y'all to guess how much Shannon Sharpe has made over his 14-year NFL career. Y'all let me know in the chat. And it's in the millions. I'll give you that. He was in the NFL for 14 years. Nobody wants to guess. 500 million? 50 million? 800 million? No. Shannon Sharpe is estimated $22 million in salary during his 14-year NFL career. This man was looking at the biggest deal of his life. He was about to sign a deal for 5 times what he made his entire time in the NFL. And that's all gone. And if you wanted to see the breakdown, you can pretty much easily look this up. But yeah, he was drafted in 1990. He played until 2003. Estimated total $21,428,500. that's not counting endorsements, but I mean, even if you say the endorsements were 50 million, which would have been insane for insane for a Shannon Sharpe, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s. That's only 70,000. Dang, man. Dang. It's tough to watch. It's tough to see. I know more than 100 million now. I don't think Shannon Sharpe's made 100 million ever. Now, he's probably after that. I mean, being the analyst, maybe he was getting 100,000, 200,000 a year. How long was he doing that for? Even if he was doing that for the past 20 years, that's still what? Another 20 million? So now you're at 50 million. About to sign $100 million deal. Woo, I can't do this anymore, man. My heart hurts for Shay Shay. I hope he made some investments. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, for some reason, hold on. I messed this up. Let me put this up here. I know y'all wanted to see some Karen Reed, so we're going to get back and do a little bit of rewind here and go back to Kerry's first testimony. And then we might have some other stuff. Oh, I have one more Shannon Sharpe thing I was going to get into. But let's go back to Kerry's testimony. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of a rewind. Listen to the rest of Kerry's testimony from the first time she was on the stand. Y'all were right and mentioned this to me in the chat and in the comments. Kerry, the first time she testified, she wasn't cross-examined. So she's going to paint a little bit of a better picture of what happened, what went down, and we can compare and contrast that between the second time that she testified and was actually cross-examined. And we'll see a better video, a better quality video of what went down when the paramedics arrived to help John. Here we go.
Was there any occasions where you had sort of socialization or go out as couples or anything like that with Ms. O'Keefe?
No, they came over our house one time, and then we'd do baseball tournaments down the Cape, and we'd all get together, but the four of us never went out.
And just for clarity purposes, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom today?
Yep. No.
Identify her as to where she's seated or an article of clothing she's wearing?
Say that again?
Could you identify as to where she's seated or an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She is seated at that front table, and she has a black and white suit jacket.
Can I just ask the record reflect identification presented by the witness?
Yes.
Okay. Now, coming back to that evening of the 28th, your husband went out to meet Mr. Camerano in this room, correct?
Yes.
And do you know about what time it was that your husband Kurt arrived home that night?
Maybe around 10:30.
And after he arrived home, what, if anything, specifically do you recall the two of you doing or anything before going off today?
I remember sitting on the couch, and the front door is right there, and it was open, and it started to snow. It had just started to come down probably about midnight, but it was coming down fast, so you knew it was. Little snowflakes usually mean a big snowstorm, and I said, well, it's starting, so we went to bed because we knew we weren't going out anywhere.
And as far as turning your attention to the next morning, at some point you awoke. Do you recall what it was that awoke you that morning on the 29th?
Karen called me at 5 o'clock in the morning.
And is that sort of a normal occurrence as far as Ms. Reed calling you and specifically calling you that early?
No.
And when you went to answer the phone, at some point did you look at sort of like the screen to your phone?
I don't know. I just answered
Ask this in a different way. As far as at some point, did you realize or did you know whether or not that call that at some point you answered, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the call that you answered, do you know whether or not that was the first call that Ms. Reed had placed you that morning or no?
It was the second call, only from looking at my phone after, because I said, oh, shoot, she called me. She just called and I didn't. She called twice.
And the phone call that you answered, about what time was that?
5 on the dot.
And if you know from looking at your phone, the phone call that you didn't wake up or didn't answer, do you know how long before that phone call was?
I think it was a minute or two before.
Yeah.
So 5 o'clock on the dot, you get a phone call, you answer it, and it's Ms. Reed, is that right?
Correct.
And that phone number, you had her sort of programmed into your phone as a contact, is that correct?
Yes.
And on prior occasions, had you called that number or gotten a call from that number on prior occasions?
Yes.
And when you got that call or made that call, who was the other person on the end that you received?
Say that again?
Maybe a pretty simple question as far as it goes, but just with reference to any prior phone calls that you either got or received
He
with
said it's a simple
that
question.
number that you programmed in as Karen Reed. When you spoke to someone by calling or receiving a call from that contact, who was on the other end of the call?
Karen Reed.
Okay. So you answered the phone sometime right around 5 a.m. and can you describe to the jury sort of what the content of that conversation was?
I answered the phone, and she said, "John's dead. Kerry, Kerry, Kerry," and then she hung up.
And as far as
That's
during
consistent with the
conversation,
first-
did you say anything?
with
or
her
did
second
Nancy say anything
testimony.
Before she hung up?
No,
And when she's speaking to you and saying those words to you over the phone, how loudly is she saying those words?
very loud. She woke my husband, who was sleeping.
By the time that the phone rings and you pick it up, your husband's sleeping, correct?
Yes,
And then afterwards, he's awake.
correct.
Now, what happened then?
Then I got out of bed, and Kurt said, "What was that?" I said, I don't know. Something's happening." And I think I started getting dressed at that point because I don't know if I started getting dressed at that point or after she called back again. I tried to call her, I think, a couple times back to be like, what is going on? Finally, she called me back again, and she said, "I'm afraid John might be dead. He might have gotten hit by a plow. He did not come home last night. I was not supposed to stay in Canton last night, and he would never leave Kaylee alone. I think something happened."
And do you recall earlier in the day of the 28th having any communication with either Mr. O'Keefe or Ms. Reed?
I did with John. He texted me.
Do you recall generally what that was about?
My son got into a scuffle with some boy at school, and Patrick wasn't in school at the time. I think he went to a doctor's appointment, but Patrick got wind of it, so John was calling to see if my son was okay.
Now, turning back to, again, that morning on the 29th, you called Ms. Reed a couple times. She didn't answer. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at some point, she called you back?
Correct.
And about how long was it after that initial phone call that you had where she hung up? How much time had elapsed between that call and the next one?
I don't know, maybe 5 minutes.
And so when she calls back, she makes those statements to you that you just testified about, and upon her making those statements, what, if anything, was your response?
Then she said she checked Kaylee's phone to see if John had called. And I said, "Okay, where are you now?" And she said, "I'm driving. Can I come to your house? Will you drive my car?" I don't remember anything from last night. We drank so much, I don't remember anything. And I said, "You need to go home and be with Kaylee if she's there by herself. I'll go look for him," or something of that nature. Because I said, "You're going to get a DUI. If you were drinking all night last night and you don't remember anything, you shouldn't be driving."
Oh, please.
All right,
No,
so
come on now. Weren't they all drinking and driving like it was a regular thing? Where does that come from?
Please.
Jeez.
When you were talking to her on the phone, what, if any, observations did you make of sort of how she was speaking or
She was very frantic, and her voice was elevated. She was very frantic.
and the loudness that you were describing during the course of that first phone call? What, if any, observations did you make with respect to that in regard to the second?
Same. Throughout the rest of the day, it was the same.
Do you indicate to her that she needs to go home? Is that right?
Correct.
And what, if anything, did she say in response to that?
She said, "I'm going to come to your house. Will you drive my car?" And I said, "Okay."
And after that, what did you do from there?
I started getting dressed. I think that's when I was starting getting dressed. And my husband said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know. Something happened. John didn't come home. Karen's worried, so I'm going to go help her." And he said, "You're not going anywhere. It's a blizzard." And I said, Yes, I am." And I went downstairs. I started the car, cleared it off, and I sat there waiting, and she didn't come. So I called.
During the time that you're waiting in the car, do you know about how long the period it was that you were waiting in the car?
I would say at least 10 minutes of sitting in the car.
And to that point, as far as when you went outside to the car, what, if anything, did you observe about the weather, and what, if anything, did you do with your car as you were turning it on?
I cleaned the car off. I turned the car on. I got in it, and I thought to myself, well, she thinks he might have got hit by a plow or something. I'll see if there's any accidents. So I called the Canton non-emergency line, and I said, "Have there been any plow accidents? My friend's boyfriend didn't come home."
Is that a common thing?
There were no accidents. So then I called Good Samaritan Hospital in Milton to see if anybody had been brought in a car accident. They said no. And then finally Karen called back.
Before we get to that, just in reference to, at any point in time, did you call Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Good morning,
Mr.
y'all.
O'Keefe, were you able to speak to Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
Do you know how many times you called Mr. O'Keefe?
My husband called him, and I think I called him.
And when was that in relation to you going out to your car and clearing it?
That was when I was in the house. Karen actually said, "Can you try and call him?"
And you did, and you didn't get an answer.
Correct.
And do you know whether or not
Yeah,
your
I
husband
thought
got
so.
an answer?
He did not.
So you go out to the car, you're waiting, and you make those phone call initially to Canton Police. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you know who you spoke to at Canton Police?
I believe it was Officer Good.
Is that someone that you knew in any way prior to this date of January 29th?
We have mutual friends, but no, I'd never met him.
Now, you call the hospitals, and then at some point after you finish speaking to the hospitals, the defendant then calls you back, correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, can you describe to the jury sort of what was the content of that conversation that third time?
She said, I said, "Where are you? I'm in the car." And she said, "I'm at Jen's house." And I said, "Jen who?" She said, "Jen McCabe. She's going to drive my car." And I said, "Okay, stay there. I'll come to there. We'll follow and we'll drop your car off. We'll just take my car and go look for him." And I drove to Jen's, and I pulled in the driveway behind them. I was still on speakerphone. Jen is driving. Karen's in the passenger seat, and we drove. I said, "Do you remember, did you look through the house? Could he be passed out somewhere in the house?" She said, I don't know. I didn't look." So I said, "Let's do that. Let's get in the cars. We're not taking 2 cars. It's a blizzard. We're going to go back to Meadows, and we're going to go look in the house first. He could be passed out behind the couch or on the floor. Who knows?" So we went to the house.
Yeah, I'm sorry, before you get into that, just as far as directionality and where you're going at this initial stage, you're sort of directing what's going to happen and where you're going to go, correct?
Correct.
Now, you had mentioned that the defendant said she was at Jen's house. You asked Jen who, and she said Jennifer McCabe, correct?
I'll allow it.
With regard to Ms. McCabe, did you know her, or how did you know her prior to this morning of January 29th?
I had met her once when John took her and I to Reebok because he's got a 50% discount, so we would go periodically and get the kids' shoes. So she, John, and myself went to Reebok, got shoes, and then we went to the hillside for lunch. That was it. I wasn't friends with her.
Is that someone that you had programmed in your phone as a contact? Did you have her information prior to January 29th?
No.
And
Thanks for being here, Becky.
Ms. McCabe's house that morning, how was it that you knew where Ms. McCabe's house was at that time?
I picked up Kaylee there a time or two for John and brought her home if I was heading that way, because Jen's house is on the way to John's.
And so you go to Ms. McCabe's house, and can you describe for the jury sort of what you observe or what you see when you're first coming up to Ms. McCabe?
I pulled in the driveway behind Karen's car, and Karen and Jen are in the car talking. I'm still on Bluetooth, so I can hear them. And Karen said that she remembered leaving him at Waterfall. And Jen said, "No, I saw you pull up to my sister's house." And then at some point in the conversation, she said, "What about my taillight? What about my taillight?" And I looked, and there was a piece missing, but it was caked on with snow. You could tell there was a little black hole, but there was snow like caked on it, and it was a blizzard at this point.
Now,
But didn't she say the second time that it looked like it was just broken? She didn't want people to get their coat caught on it, and that's why she was worried.
just as
Maybe she'll
far
get
as
into it. I don't know.
over the course of this early morning when you're making that drive from your house to Ms. McCabe's house, correct?
Yes.
So during that time, can you describe sort of what the lighting conditions were, what the roadway conditions were, what you observed as you were driving over there?
It was not light out yet, and it was really bad driving.
And bad driving in reference to the snow, was that correct?
Yes.
So you get to Ms. McCabe's house, and during the drive from your house to Ms. McCabe's house, you're speaking to both Ms. McCabe and Ms. Reed.
Yes.
And with reference, I think you've said a couple times as far as a Bluetooth. So as far as what you're hearing on the other side of the conversation, is it just one person, or are you able to hear sort of everything that's going on in the car?
I could hear everything. It was like a regular phone call in the car.
From where you were, your impression was it was hooked up to the speaker of the car.
Correct.
And when you get to Ms. McCabe's house, or what you were just testifying about as far as the taillight, when is it that you're making those observations?
In Jen's driveway.
And so about how far away from the defendant's car are you the first time that you see or your attention is drawn to this taillight?
I was parked right behind them in the driveway.
And can you describe which part of the vehicle you're looking at as far as which tail light that you're observing this damaged?
The right passenger.
And so from there, as far as Ms. McCabe's driveway, you make these observations. Where is it that you go from there?
And I now see why the defense is making a point to say that a lot of these witnesses for the prosecution, their memory gets better with time, because now they're saying, oh, actually I thought about it. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Say it again.
So after you're making those observations and you're overhearing that conversation, or you're having that conversation.
Now that I think about it,
where
what
did
had
you
happened
leave?
was
We went to Meadows, to John's house.
And how was it that each of you sort of got from Ms. McCabe's house to John's house on Meadows?
Jen drove Karen's car, and I followed behind in my car.
And when you arrived there, where did you go? Where did you park? Like,
I pulled in, I think I pulled in right behind. She pulled her car sort of in front of the garage bays, and I pulled in the driveway behind her.
and when you say she, do you know who was driving?
Jen McCabe, sorry.
Driving and Ms. Reed's in the front passenger seat.
Correct.
And you're driving your car behind.
Correct.
What kind of car did you have?
A Ford Explorer,
Do you recall what color it was?
dark gray.
And as far as Ms. Reed, do you recall what kind of vehicle she had at that point?
A Lexus SUV,
Do you recall what color that was?
black.
Now, with respect to Mr. O'Keefe, do you recall what kind of vehicle John O'Keefe had?
He has a Traverse.
And do you recall what color that was?
It's like a beige green.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could ask to publish what's been marked as exhibit number 2.
Okay.
which I wonder why
Ms.
they didn't
Roberts,
cross
direct your
her.
attention to the screen over here. Do you recognize
The
what
first
is up
time.
on the screen?
That's John's house.
And does that seem like a fair and accurate portrayal of what John's house looked like at around the time of January 29th when you went over that morning?
Much snowier, but yes.
Sorry, I can't hear you over the coughing, if you could repeat.
Oh, I said it was much more snow, but yes.
Now, not visible in this particular photograph, or the driveway that you were talking about, facing Mr. O'Keefe's house in Meadows Ave, as we are in this picture, whereabouts would the driveway be, to the left or the right or something?
To the right.
And, Your Honor, with court's permission, if I could ask to publish what's been marked as exhibit 91.
Okay.
And again, Ms. Roberts, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
That is John's car.
And what is it that's behind John's car?
Behind a basketball hoop?
No, I'm sorry, that's correct. Not the rear of the vehicle, but sort of in the photograph behind on the other side of the passenger side of the vehicle.
Oh, the garage doors?
And there are two garage doors, one on the left, one on the right, is that correct? You're familiar with this house, you've been over it a number of times when Mr. O'Keefe lived there?
Correct.
And as far as, what if anything, were you familiar with as far as Mr. O'Keefe having regarding sort of security around his house?
Security, he has a Ring camera that was in the driveway and a Ring camera that was at the side door.
And with regard to the garage itself, as far as you've been in there as well?
Yes.
And so what is behind the left door of the garage?
His big old blue convertible.
And on the right side of the garage, what if anything is in behind it?
Nothing. He's got all organized stuff and kids sporting. I don't know if he parked in there or not.
Now, as far as how Mr. O'Keefe kept his garage, kept his home, was there a particular way in which he kept it when he lived there, you know?
Neat freak.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He was a neat freak.
Okay.
Yeah, take your shoes off before you
And
come in the
as
house.
you enter into this garage, what, if any, access would you then have to inside the home?
There's a set of stairs and it brings you right into like the mudroom, which leads into the kitchen.
Now, when you would go over to Mr. O'Keefe's house on this occasion or any other occasion, what, if any, rules or preferences would Mr. O'Keefe have with regard to footwear?
You did not wear footwear in the house. You took your shoes off.
There it is. Yep.
And is that something that applies
Why
to
did they make a
people who
point
live
of
there
it?
as well as people who are visiting?
Yes.
And how would you describe, is that a relatively strict rule?
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could, I'd like to publish a portion of Exhibit 6, ring video.
Okay.
Gentlemen, if I could have from the driveway, video number 154. So, Ms. Roberts, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
Yes, that's Karen's car and my car, and John's is in the background.
Now, in front of you on the desk, there should be a laser pointer. It's not this. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, pressing on that button and pointing sort of at the screen, if I could ask you just direct the jury's attention to where do you see Ms. Reed's vehicle, where do you see your vehicle, and where do you see Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle with all?
That is John's car. That is Karen's car. That is my car.
Is this a fair and accurate portrayal of sort of where the cars were and what things looked like when you first arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house, coming from Ms. McCabe's house?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Positive. Now, with reference to any individuals that you observed in this video, again, using the laser pointer, if you could draw the jury's attention to who you observed and where they are.
That is Jen McCabe, and that is Karen Reed, and that's me.
And at some point, you enter in through the garage, is that right?
Correct.
Now, as far as the garage doors were concerned, when you came back that morning, what, if anything, did you notice about the garage door?
The right garage door wouldn't close.
So it was open when you arrived?
I don't recall if it was open when we arrived, but when we were leaving, it wouldn't close.
And do you recall, do you have any idea of sort of how that mechanically worked, like how you would open, how you would close the garage door?
Yeah, there's a code
All right now. Jeez.
on the side.
And at any point in time, when we noticed that the garage door was open, were you or any of the people that you were able to close that door?
No.
And so is that the door that you entered into in order to get into the garage, to get into the mud, and take off your shoes and go in the house?
Correct.
And when you came into the house that morning, and you entered into the mud, what, if anything, did you do with your shoes, and what, if anything, did you observe Ms. McCabe and the defendant do with their shoes?
Jen and I both had taken our shoes off in the sort of steps in the garage before we entered into the mudroom. We took our shoes off, and Karen just walked in.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could just play the video from that.
There's the puffy jacket. How come we haven't seen this angled video yet? Because this is the first time I'm seeing this one. It didn't look like this, though.
Now, Ms. Roberts,
Nosy
with
Rosie said we
reference
saw
to,
it. I don't remember this
the ring
one.
video security system.
Don't
that
listen to
Mr.
me.
O'Keefe had at his home. If you know, do you know who had access to that?
I do not.
Do you obviously do you know whether or not Mr. O'Keefe had access to that?
He did, yes.
Okay. Do you know how or what device he used in order to access?
I only know he had it on his phone
How do you know he had it on his phone?
because he would check it all the time to see if the kids were home or dropped off or.
That's something he did in your presence.
Yes.
Now, with regard to at some point when you get to the home, beyond the sort of initial observations you made in Ms. McCabe's driveway with regard to the right rear passenger taillight of Ms. Reed's vehicle, what, if any, other observations did you make, or what, if anything else, did you do with reference to that area of the vehicle?
Karen did point it out at one point in the driveway. She said, "My taillight, look at my taillight." And I looked at it and I said, "You told me you don't remember anything from last night." She said, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? And I said, "No, I don't think you hit him. I think you probably hit something, but let's just go in the house and look for him."
And so as far as your recollection is concerned, that sort of interaction that you had or looking at the taillight, when did that happen?
I don't know if it was when, well, it obviously wasn't when we got there. It must have been when we were leaving to go out to look for him.
When you what? I'm sorry.
I wasn't sure if it was when we arrived or when we were leaving to go back out and look for him, but now that I've seen the video, it's obviously when we came back out of the house.
Okay.
And who was present for that?
Who was present?
Yes.
Jen McCabe, Karen Reed, and myself.
And as far as where Ms. McCabe parked that vehicle, at any point in time that you were at the house, did that vehicle move at all? And by that vehicle, I mean Ms. Reed's vehicle.
I don't think so.
We're not done with
Where
Jen
it
yet
parked in that
either.
video is essentially where it stayed as far as you know.
I believe so.
Now, With reference to those observations, or when you were looking at the rear passenger taillight area of Ms. Reed's vehicle, how close to the vehicle were you when you were making those observations?
Right in front of it. There was one piece, like a rectangle encapsulated, like whatever was broken. I remember there was one piece of metal sort of sticking out. So if it was an encasement for a light of some sort, I remember looking at it and the piece was sort of sticking out, and I thought someone's going to catch their sleeve on that or something.
Ah, there you go. Now she brings it up.
And now from there, when you arrive at the house, you go into the house, you take off your shoes. What happened then?
I started looking. Jen started looking. Karen, her and Jen went upstairs. I started looking downstairs. I started looking on the other side of the couches to see if maybe he passed out somewhere. And then I went upstairs, and Karen was standing in John's room. The bed was made. She was just standing there. Jen had gone in to talk to Kaylee. And then I said, all right, let's go.
Now,
He's not in the house. He's not in the house.
As far as your knowledge of Mr. O'Keefe, him not coming home when any of the children were home, was that something that was normal?
Him not coming home if the children were home?
Correct.
Yeah, he would not do that.
And obviously you knew Kaylee was there, but what, if anything, did you know as to where Patrick was at that point?
He was at a friend's house.
And was that something that you knew independent of this morning, or what had transpired up to that point?
Say that again?
How did you find out that Patrick was at a friend's house? So you know.
Karen said, I said, where's Patrick? She said he's at his friend's.
So you were in the downstairs area of the home, is that correct?
Yes.
And looking through the rooms, you didn't find Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
No,
Now, at any point in time, did you go upstairs?
I did.
And when you went upstairs, where in the upstairs did you go?
At the top of the stairs is John's bedroom, so I looked in there. I looked in the bathroom. I looked in the closet. I looked in Patrick's room.
Morning, James.
I looked in the other two bedrooms, and Kaylee was in her room. So Jen was in there, but I was looking through the house.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe's bedroom, when you looked in there, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the condition of the bed?
The bed was made.
Now, you mentioned you looked in a variety of different rooms on the second floor. You said sort of 2 other rooms. What, if anything, were those other rooms used for, if you know?
I think one of them was a computer room. It was the room that faced the front of the house, and the back room
I agree,
had a bed in
Somai.
it that Mrs. O'Keefe would stay in when she would stay over.
And again, just to be clear, when you say Mrs. O'Keefe, you mean John's mother?
John's mother, sorry.
And as far as the computer room, who, if anyone, had access to that, if you know?
Had access to the computer room.
Yes. What was it used for? Space?
Oh, there was a desk with a computer or laptop.
And did you know whose laptop that was, whether it was John's, whether it was the defendant's, whether it was the kids?
I don't know if it was the defendant's at the time, but John's laptop used to be in that room.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask if I could publish just a couple more photos on the screen from Ms. Roberts.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could start with Exhibit 92. Ms. Roberts, directing your attention up to the screen, do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
That's Karen Reed's Lexus.
And specifically, if you could, using the laser pointer in front of you, direct the jury's attention to where you observed damage that way.
That's where the metal piece I was describing was.
As far as what's depicted in this photograph up on the screen, is that consistent with what you observed in Mr. O'Keefe's driveway and Mr. Cape's driveway when you saw it that home?
Well, caked in snow, but yes.
So absent the snow, yes.
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next exhibit, number 92. Again, Ms. Roberts, do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
Essentially a closer-up image of the same area, correct?
Yes.
Again, what's depicted in this closer-up image, is that also consistent with what you observed in Mr. Cape's driveway and Mr. O'Keefe's driveway that day?
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask again if I could publish a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 41.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to fast forward to about 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 30 seconds. Right from there.
So this is not one of the EMTs. This is the police video.
Ms. Roberts, direct your attention up to the screen to recognize what's on the pause portion of the screen from this video.
That's John's house.
And Ms. Kimberly, if you could press play again. Ms. Kimberly, if you could pause it. And again, Ms. Roberts, direct your attention up to the screen to recognize what's sort of in front of the camera in the particular portion of the video.
That's Karen's car and John's car.
And where you observe Karen's car and John's car, again, if you could just, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention where you observe each of those in this still frame here.
That's Karen's car. That's John's car.
And are those essentially the same positions that you were talking about that the jury saw earlier in the ring video from Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes. Do you want this up on the screen or down?
Up for now,
Okay.
but just for a moment. Mr. Roberts, I'm going to show you just two photographs. Ask you to just look at those and finish.
Okay.
And do you recognize those? Or do you recognize what's depicted in them?
Do I recognize what?
What's depicted in each of those photographs?
Karen's car.
And may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
I will proceed to introduce and admit as the next exhibits.
Okay, is there any objection? No objection. All right, thank you.
Your Honor, while those are being marked, may we approach?
Hold on. Sidebar.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, we got a sidebar. Oh my goodness. No, we're not doing this today. And we're not counting sidebars today, all right? It's interesting to see how everyone's aged after just a year. Is it just me? Y'all see a difference? I mean, even in AJ, Judge Canoni, all of them, it looks so much older.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish first what's been marked as Exhibit 101.
Okay.
And Ms. Roberts, what's up on the screen now is Exhibit 101. You indicated that's Ms. Reed's vehicle in the same position where Ms. McCabe left the car from the property, correct?
Yes.
This is appear to be a still shot from the same video that you just saw in the prior exhibit.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have Exhibit 102 now. And Ms. Roberts, what's up on the screen? That's the second photograph that I showed you just a moment ago.
Yes.
And that's essentially a closer up or zoomed in image of what's in the same still image that you saw in the prior, correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to the damage that you observed on the right rear passenger tail light of Ms. Reed's vehicle that morning. Okay. Ms. Gilman, you can take it. Now you go, look through the home, you don't find Mr. O'Keefe, and what happens?
Then I said, let's go look for him. If he might be walking home, or if you thought he got hit by a plow, let's just, and Jen and Karen wanted to go back to 34 Fairview where they were at Jen said she saw her pull up to 34 Fairview the night before. So Karen really wanted to go back there. I was the one that said, no, let's drop a car off, go to Meadows and look through the house, and then we'll start looking if he's not in the house. So that's what we did. We got in the car, and we were going to head back to Jen's sister's house.
And so this conversation, as far as the defendant, as you're testifying, really wanting to go to Fairview, when did that occur in relation to when you got to Mr. O'Keefe's?
On the way from Jen McCabe's house to John's house in the car.
So So this is over the Bluetooth as you're driving?
Yes, Karen said I left him at Waterfall, and Jen said, no, I saw you pull up in front of my sister's.
And so after coming out of Mr. O'Keefe's house, do you exit the same way that you entered?
Yes,
Come out the garage door, get into your car?
yes.
And if you could describe to the jury sort of where was everybody seated in your car when you did it?
I was driving, Karen was in the back seat, and Jen was in the passenger seat.
And as far as Ms. McCabe's sister's house, at the time, did you know where that was or who her sister was or anything like that?
I didn't even know she had a sister.
And you know about how long a drive or how far a drive or what the route was that you took going from Meadows to her sister's house?
I think we went main roads because we were looking to see, I mean, I don't know what we were looking for, but we were looking for him. I don't know if we thought he was walking home or if he got hit by a plow. So we went main roads. We pulled
People
out.
get
I
hit
think
by plows like
we
that?
went Bolivar Street, and then Jen was giving directions because I didn't know where we were going.
I know somebody said yes,
To
but
be clear,
I
Bolivar
haven't heard
Street
of
you're
it.
talking about, that's Bolidar.
Yes,
And so then Ms. McCabe is then giving you directions as you're driving, correct?
correct.
Now, as you're driving,
It's kind of scary.
Again, as far as what if anything did you see as far as plows or how were the roads treated at that time? What if anything did you observe in reference to that?
It was bad driving. There were plows out, but it was really bad driving.
And the visibility.
Imagine
as
me
you're
walking
driving
down the
from
sidewalk
Mr.
with your
O'Keefe's house
AirPods in, you
to,
get hit by a
Ms.
plow.
McCabe's sister's house, how would you describe the visibility?
It was very poor. It was in the middle of a blizzard.
Now, when you get to the street, at some point you're directed by Ms. McCabe to Fairview Road, correct?
Correct.
And when you get to Fairview Road, do you recall whether or not you took a left or a right, or how did you come onto Fairview Road?
Off of Chapman Street, I took a right onto Fairview.
You took a right from Chapman onto Fairview.
Correct.
And as you're coming down Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you note or observe as far as the sort of elevation of the roadway?
You go downhill.
Do you go downhill?
Yes.
This particular area of Canton, obviously you've lived in Canton for several years. Are you somewhat familiar with this area of Canton?
Yeah.
And how is it that you were familiar with the area of Canton prior to this date if you've never been to Ms. McCabe's sister's house?
The commuter rail is right near there that I would take to work.
Are there any schools in that area as well?
Yes, the John F. Kennedy School.
And you mentioned that your son played baseball, correct?
Yes, and
Ball field.
my son and John's nephew also went to the home daycare across the street from the JFK.
Now, Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to just publish a brief portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 12.
Okay.
Gentlemen, what I'm going to ask is if you could push this video forward to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm sorry, if you could play it now. I could ask him to stop right there. Ms. Roberts, from what you've seen on the video, as far as what's depicted in this video, is that a fair and accurate portrayal or consistent with what you observed that morning as you were driving around going from Mr. O'Keefe's house to Ms. McCabe's sister's house?
Yes.
And the turn that this vehicle is taking at this point in the video, about 2 minutes and 40 seconds in, do you recognize what street that vehicle is turning onto?
I believe it's Fairview.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Whose police car is this?
Now, Ms. Roberts, as you're driving from Mr. O'Keefe's house to this address on Fairview Road that you've never been to before. What's going on inside the car?
Karen was frantic. She wouldn't put her seatbelt on, and I was getting nervous because we're driving in a blizzard. She kept leaning in between the two seats. I think at some point she was texting in the back seat, and then she'd be leaning. She was just frantic the whole morning.
And as far as her screaming, do you recall anything specifically that she was screaming, or what, if any, sort of conversation was going on in the car as you were driving?
There was some conversation about a woman I didn't know that was Bella's mom, and she said Bella's mom never liked me. I think Bella lived near Jen's sister, maybe? I don't know. Some conversation about Bella's mom, and Karen said she didn't like me.
And do you recall where you were in your travels when that topic of conversation came up?
No, I don't recall.
Now, in reference to following that, what, if anything, did you say in regards to any other sort of women?
Any other what?
Following that conversation in regards to
Okay, so I haven't heard
what,
about
if
Sarah
anything,
Fee yet.
Did you say
Karen is not in jail. No.
Fairview Road runs along Spring Street, I think it is. Spring Lane. So Spring Lane and Fairview are both off at Chapman Street, and there was a woman he dated that lived on Spring Lane. So when Jen was telling me where her sister's house was, I said, I don't know where Fairview is. And she said, it's near Spring Lane. And I said, oh, where the dance instructor lived. John had once dated a dance instructor. And then Karen said, do you think he could have gone there? Do you think that's where he could have been? No, I was just using it as a reference point. She said it's near Spring Lane. And I knew that the dance instructor lived on Spring Lane.
And just to be clear, when you say the dance instructor, this would be for his niece, Kaylee?
Correct.
And you indicated that the two of them, being Mr. O'Keefe and the dance instructor, had dated at some point in the past, correct?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it was when Kaylee was little. She was probably like 5.
So almost 10 years before this date that you're driving away. Now, as you're driving along and driving down Fairview, what is it that you're doing? What, if anything, do you observe Mr. McCabe doing? And then what, if anything, do you observe the defendant?
Well, we were looking for John walking or wherever he may be. So I'm driving and looking on both sides, and I think Jen was looking on both sides. And Karen she would be in the back seat, then she'd be in between us, then she'd be in the back seat, and then in between us.
And as you came down the hill on Fairview, what, if anything, what happened then?
Jen said, my sister's house is right up here. And all of a sudden, Karen said, there he is. Let me the F out of this car. And she started kicking the door.
And
Dang.
how was she kicking the door?
With her feet. Well, how was she kicking the door?
How hard was she kicking?
Oh, pretty hard. I mean, she wanted to get out of the car, but it was locked because once you start driving, the back doors lock. So I looked over and I didn't see anything. And I looked at Jen and I said, she's crazy. And I unlocked the door and I sat back and watched. And she ran over to a mound of snow.
And so as the time you're driving down the road, have you seen anything, as you're driving down, sort of looking at the side of the road, have you seen anything on your side of the vehicle?
No,
And when you say she gets out of the vehicle, is it your side or passenger side where Ms. McCabe is? That
the driver's side.
so she gets out of the driver's side of the vehicle and the back passenger, correct?
Correct.
And how quickly does she go sort of from your car to where she ends up?
She ran over to the mound.
And at that point in time, even when she runs over, could you see what she was running over to?
At some point, I realized it was the shape of a body.
And when was that you realized? When in this sort of sequence were you able to realize that?
That was in seconds. Once she ran over to his body, I said, oh my God. And she lifted up his shirt and started to lay on him.
Mm.
And when you stopped to let her out, where were you in relation to that mound of snow or what you learned?
I think my car was like in the middle of the road. I just stopped.
And in relation to where the mound of snow was, had you driven past it at that point? So where was it?
Yes.
Okay, so it was located behind your vehicle?
Yeah.
Ms. Gilman, if you could, I would ask just press play on that till about 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Pause it right there. Okay. What's depicted in the screen in front of this camera angle? Do you recognize what that is?
That's my car.
Is that essentially where you parked your car when Miss Reed started kicking the doors and got out and ran over?
Yes.
Could you just press play for a moment? Pause it. Now, from this video, do you see where in relation to your vehicle, Mr. O'Keefe, where you found Mr. O'Keefe?
with the pointer.
Can you film it if you could? Again, just wait for about this to happen.
Dang. What happened to this video during this retrial? Because the version they've been showing of this has been garbage. This is way easier. Way easier to see.
Do you have a problem? You what? Huh?
You can see so much clearer. That's Karen. That's Jen. That's Kerry. Why is Karen the only one freaking out? I guess Jen and Kerry are in shock or something because they're just kind of like, well, he's dead. Like both of them reacting so calmly is just odd. I don't know. But Karen's freaking out like she's truly in shock. I don't know. Whatever.
That is Jen McCabe. That's Karen Reed. That's me.
Take that down. Roberts, in relation to what you just saw in the video, as far as at some point the rear sort of tailgate or hatchback on your SUV, that was in the up position, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall why that was?
Truly Blessed asks, was this an accident or on purpose? I do not have enough information to be able to answer that. It seems like all of this is a cover up for something. I don't see, especially the way John's injured from what I'm hearing. It doesn't seem like it was intentional, but there's a lot of pieces missing to this puzzle. So somebody's trying to cover up something. We know that for a fact. It's just who.
Because I was having Jen get the baby blankets to wrap around him out of my car.
And is that something that you just sort of have in the back of your car?
Who did it?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
At any point in time in that sequence, did you call anybody or have any sort of phone calls that you made that went to voicemail at that time?
Did I?
Yes.
I don't know.
And so nothing that you recall, is that correct?
Correct.
And did you observe Ms. McCabe make any phone calls that just sort of went to voicemail and she left her phone in your car?
Objection. Sustained.
Let me take you back, sort of when you're pulling. So as far as the conditions when you pull up and the defendant is banging on the door and gets out and runs over to Mr. O'Keefe. What's depicted in that video, obviously without your vehicle being in the middle of the roadway, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what the road looked like and sort of what you saw upon your arrival?
Yes.
So after the defendant gets out of the vehicle, what did you do? Where did you go?
When I realized it was him or someone, I ran over and I dug his head out of the snow.
Why does she keep saying that? This is strange. She's used that exact same phrasing in the second trial. I thought it was him or someone. Why do they say it like that? That's always been weird to me. How did you not know it was John? She's like, I thought it was him or someone.
Because I was having Jen get the baby blankets to wrap around him.
Yes,
out of
always
my
not
car.
guilty.
And is that something that you just sort of have in the back of your car at all times?
Yeah.
Now, at any point in time in that sequence, did you call anybody or have any sort of phone calls that you made that went to voicemail at that time?
Did I?
Yes.
I don't know.
And so nothing that you recall, is that correct?
Correct.
And did you observe Ms. McCabe make any phone calls that just sort of went to voicemail and she left her phone in your car?
Objection. Sustained.
Let me take you back, sort of when you're pulling. So as far as the conditions when you pull up and the defendant is banging on the door and gets out and runs over to Mr. O'Keefe. What's depicted in that video, obviously without your vehicle being in the middle of the roadway, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what the road looked like and sort of what you saw upon your arrival?
Yes.
So after the defendant gets out of the vehicle, what did you do? Where did you go?
When I realized it was him or someone, I ran over and I dug his head out of the snow.
And
Very
you
strange.
recall, you recognized the person in the snow as Mr. O'Keefe.
Once I dug his head out, yes.
And you recall how his body was positioned as far as how was he on his stomach, on his back, on his side?
He was on his back,
And so you brushed some snow away from his head, is that correct?
off his face.
And when you were brushing the snow off his face, what, if anything, did you observe about his face or the condition of him?
He had blood coming out of his nose and his mouth. And his right eye it looked like a golf ball. His left eye was fine, but the right eye looked like a golf ball.
So is there theory he got hit by the car in his eye and then he fell back and hit his head? Like, how do you, what are they alleging that Karen did?
Now, you mentioned that you wiped
Doesn't
the
make
snow
sense.
from around his head. What, if anything else, did you observe on the rest of his body?
He was bleeding in the back of the head. So when I was wrapping I don't know why I was wrapping blankets around his head, but I didn't know. He had a cut on the back of his head.
Do you recall which side of his head that cut was on?
I don't. It just was blood on the blanket that was under his head.
Now, as far as the rest of his body, did that have snow on it as well?
Say it again, I'm sorry?
This is
The rest of
strange,
his body
man.
separate from his head area, what, if any, snow did you observe on the rest of his body?
He was completely covered.
And you know about how much snow was covering the rest of his body?
I would say like 4 inches, maybe 3. I don't really remember exactly how many, but he was covered.
And so with reference to Mr. O'Keefe and when you arrived there, 3 of you being you, the defendant, and Ms. McCabe, what is it that you were doing when you first sort of come over to Mr. O'Keefe?
Well, Karen was laying on top of him, and I told her to
believe
get
they
off him
said
because
John
I was
was
going to do
6'2".
CPR. And I said, Jen, you need to call 911. And I started CPR on his chest compressions, and then Karen was giving him mouth to mouth.
And as far as CPR goes, is that something that you had any training in prior to this?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury a little bit about that as far as what, if any, training did you have as far as CPR was concerned?
I get CPR certified every 2 years through the American Red Cross at work.
So you start doing chest compressions, is that right?
Correct.
And you direct Ms. McCabe to call 911?
Yes.
And what was the defendant doing at that?
She was doing mouth to mouth, and she was frantic again, running around. And
As she was running around, what, if anything else, was she doing or saying while she was running around?
did I hit him? Did I hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead?
Is that something that she said once or more than once?
More than once.
And similar to sort of the tonality or the volume of the voice that you were describing before, was that consistent when you're there sort of in front of the house?
Yes.
Now, in relation to where you were with Mr. O'Keefe, obviously you've never been in this house before, is that right?
Correct.
What, if anything, did you observe as far as overhead lights or street lights or anything like that around that area where you found Mr. O'Keefe?
There was a fire hydrant, and there was some weird, like, electrical box thing sticking out of the ground.
But you don't recall any sort of like overhead lights or anything like that?
I don't recall.
Now,
She don't recall.
this process of you sort of doing compressions and Ms. Reed is doing mouth-to-mouth and then running around, is the mouth-to-mouth that she's doing, is that sort of consistent, or is it intermittent between, when is the running around in relation to the mouth-to-mouth?
I don't remember which was first. Or I was concentrating on doing chest compressions.
And so while you're doing the chest compressions, at some point do first responders start to arrive?
Correct.
And about how long was it from the time that you sort of get out of the vehicle, go over, realize it's Mr. O'Keefe, et cetera, and to when the first responders arrived?
I don't know. Wasn't long. Maybe under 10 minutes.
During that time, or during any of the amount of time that you were there, did you see anybody from any of the houses on the street come out of the house, or any neighbors come out or anything like that?
No.
Once, if you recall, do you recall whether it was police or fire or ambulance or who showed up first?
I don't know. I think the police showed up first, or the EMTs. I just know the EMTs came over and said, we'll take it from here. I wasn't paying attention to what else was going on.
So you're sort of focused on the chest compressions, and at some point, some paramedic comes over and tells you they've got this.
Yes.
And so after that, where did you go?
After that, where did I go? I stayed in the area. I think I went back over to the car.
And as paramedics are working on John, you're over by your vehicle, correct?
I think so.
And so where was, what were you doing, and where was Ms. McCabe, and where was the defendant at that point?
Karen was running around the body while the EMTs were trying to work on him. She was just frantic.
And so you're over by the car, and Ms. Reed is running around over where Mr. O'Keefe is.
Yes.
Where was Ms. McCabe?
I don't know. She was somewhere around the car.
So closer to you than to where Mr. O'Keefe was?
I don't know.
Now, where Mr. O'Keefe was, if you know, where was he in relation to the roadway or the paved sort of pathway of Fairview Road?
I don't know, because you couldn't tell which was the road and which was the grass. Like, you couldn't tell where the road began and ended.
Welcome,
So I
very
don't know.
nice. Thanks for being here.
Now, you described the defendant sort of running around Mr. O'Keefe frantically. What, if anything, was she saying at that point?
Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?
And that sort of phraseology, or the way she put that, was that consistent throughout? Is that how she stated it?
Yes.
And again, in that same sort of loud volume voice at the time?
Yes.
Now, at some point, Mr. O'Keefe is taken from where he is by the paramedics to an ambulance, correct?
Yes.
And as he's being taken off the ground, what, if anything, did you observe in that area?
His phone was under him, and it was grass.
Now, as far as the graphs that you observed, how is that in relation to sort of the rest of the area where Mr. O'Keefe was?
Everything else had snow.
So everything else is covered in snow, and when he's lifted off the ground underneath his body, is that where the grass is?
Yes.
And his phone was where in relation to his body? As far as when he's lifted up, what part of his body had been open?
Like maybe his shoulder, maybe it was like his back. So when they lifted him up, it was under where, like, his, whatever, the right side of his back.
And what I'm asking is basically sort of up towards his shoulder blade or down towards his lower back, if you...
In the middle.
And when you saw the phone on the grass, what, if anything, did you do with Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
I picked it up. I put it in my pocket. And at some point, one of the first responders asked if I had it. I handed it over.
And do you recall who that first responder was?
No.
Do you recall even whether it was a police officer, a firefighter, or a paramedic, or...
No.
Now, as Mr. O'Keefe is being taken from where he was located and found him to the ambulance, what happens then? What goes on from that?
At some point, Officer
Nah, you're
Good
good,
told
Nosy
Karen to
Rosie.
calm down because she was frantic. And at some point,
Calm down.
Jen and Karen were in the back of a police cruiser to warm up. I was standing outside watching the ambulance because I could see in through the ambulance that they were moving things and working on them.
And so what, if any, conversation did you have with the defendant or Ms. McCabe in reference to what you were seeing through the back of the ambulance?
I said, they're working on him. They're working on him. And at one point, Karen grabbed the front of my jacket and screamed in my face and said, are they working on him? Is he alive? And I said, they're working on him. They're working on him. They wouldn't be working on him if he was dead. And then she had us hold hands and pray. And then at some point, she had blood on her hands, and she told us she had her period. So I think she was just in a state of shock, maybe.
And what, if anything, did
That's
you
consistent
or
with her
McCabe say to her when she said that?
testimony this time.
We said, no, that's not your blood. That's John's.
And what happened then?
Then the ambulance drove away.
And if you know about how long was it from the time that you were told by the paramedic to sort of step away from Mr. O'Keefe, they had this, from that point to when the ambulance drove away?
I don't know. I don't think it was long. I watched them work on whatever they were doing in the back of the ambulance, and they got in the ambulance and drove away.
And
I didn't know, Rosie.
after the ambulance left, where did the three of you go, or where did you go? Where did Miss Reed go? Where did Miss McCabe?
Karen, I had her in my car. Jen was going up to the door to her sister's house, and I said to the police, I had been on the phone now. I had called Mrs. O'Keefe. I had called John's mother. I had called John's father. At some point, Karen was on the phone with John's sister-in-law, Erin, telling him John's dead. So I grabbed the phone from her. I said, he's not dead. He's in the back of an ambulance. He's been in an accident. And she said that Paul was going to go, John's brother, to the hospital that they were bringing John to. So
Something happened in that house.
I called Mr. O'Keefe. He didn't answer.
Next question. That'll stand, but next question.
Interesting.
So you call Mr. O'Keefe and Mrs. O'Keefe John's parents.
Correct.
At some point, you have a conversation with them, correct?
Correct.
And do you know why it was that Miss McCabe was going into the house on Fairview?
Objection. Do you know why?
To wake her sister, I think.
And after those conversations, so you grab the phone from the defendant, you speak to Erin O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
And following those conversations with members of the O'Keefe family, where is it that you were going from there?
I asked Mrs. O'Keefe if she had four-wheel drive, and she said no. And Mr. O'Keefe had a van that didn't have four-wheel drive. So I said, I'm going to come get you, and I'll take you to the hospital.
All right, so why don't we end this now for lunch, okay? All right, jurors will take the luncheon.
There it is. I mean, shout out to Jen. She held it down. She seems pretty consistent. A lot of her testimony seems the same. I can imagine why they just let her go the first time. She got a little bit more heat this time, but I think she did a good job. There are a couple pieces of the story that don't make sense. Something isn't adding up here, but I guess people react to things differently. Either way, y'all let me know what you think about this in the comments in the chat. Also, shout out to everyone. Nearly 100% of y'all liked the video. Now almost 500 of y'all in the building. 300 plus of you have liked the video, so I appreciate it. Welcome to Green Eyes, by the way. First time on the channel. Thank you for stopping by. She did very well the first time. Yeah, I think she held up the second time too. I think Kerry, you can tell she had a very super close relationship with John. And she mentioned that in her testimony. She mentioned it when she did the interview that we covered yesterday, talking about how close her and John were, how she was John's right hand when it came to raising the kids. So very deep connection there. They grew up together, high school sweethearts at one point. So, I mean, it's tough, man. She's in pain. She had no part in this. I don't think so either. The people who had a part in this, I don't think are any four of these women, four being Peggy, Kerry, Jen, or Karen. I think Jen maybe knows something that she's not saying, but I don't think she actually did anything. We still got so much more of this to cover. Y'all have to let me know what you think. I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. This has been an amazing show. Tomorrow, we're back. We got a full day. Day 8 officially starts tomorrow. This is our day 8 of covering the trial, but court proceeding day 8 starts tomorrow. So y'all know we'll be here. Looking forward to it. Thank you to everybody who liked the video and supported. I appreciate y'all. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I think I got all of the super chats. I might have missed Shauna's last one. She said cheers to keeping grounded. Shout out to Shauna and everyone who sent some love over as well. Y'all make sure if you haven't yet, like the video on your way out, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live or drop a new video. We'll be back tomorrow morning right at 9 to finish the week off with day 8 of the Karen Reed trial. Looking forward to it. As always, y'all know what to do. Have a great afternoon. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.